Yo, what's going on? Welcome to another episode of the It's Needed podcast, where we discuss real issues involving law enforcement in the community. It's your boy Ryan Tillman, founder of Breaking Barriers United, and I am joined by the light-skinned wonder himself, Mr. Oh No, it's the Popo. What's going on, Brody?
You're gonna have to call me. Oh no, it's the COVID. Your boy got COVID over here this week. So.
Oh man, well, I hope you're feeling better, bro. Hey man, I'm gonna make sure that you stay away from me, bro, so I don't catch COVID through this mic.
Well, I've been ducking it for a while, man. I've been. This is the first time I got it, so I've been out here.
Oh man,
they got me though. Finally got me. Hit me.
Well, we're also joined by the Savage himself, Billy. What's going on, Billy?
We are live for the first time, guys. So if I am not talking a lot, it's because I'm looking at a lot of things going on right now.
Billy is nervous.
Hey, let me tell you, I just ran.
We got comments coming.
Yeah, I know. Hey, shout out to you, Darrington. Great nothing, all you guys. Appreciate you. We see your guys' comments on our end. You guys may not be able to see your own comments, but we see you, and I appreciate you guys.
I can't even see them. They excluded me from the comment section, y'all. What kind of?
We gotta fix that. So what's cool though is this is a brand setup. I literally had to run to Walmart. Me and Billy are freaking out and doing everything. So
I forgot my keyboard to my computer today. Had to drive back.
I'm gonna show you some of the comments now, so that way you can kind of see them.
Oh, they coming in. Okay. Just got over COVID
last week. Shout out to so yeah, guys. So this is great. This is a great new setup, and this is how we're going to be doing in the future, guys. Because again, from where we started to where we're going now, we just want to keep moving forward in the right direction, and it's only because of you guys. So shout out to you guys that are watching this right now. It's phenomenal. So make sure you guys share this podcast with everybody, because we're going to keep growing. So with that being said, hey, I want to talk about something really briefly. I don't know if you saw this yesterday, AJ, but the officer, I want to say it was NYPD that was ambushed yesterday, or actually around. He got shot in the head. A fragment got shot in the head. Did you see or hear anything about that?
Just real briefly, what was it? Was it an ambush, or was it somebody firing rounds and the round came through the window?
I think it was somebody firing rounds. I don't know if it was an ambush or somebody firing rounds, but anyhow, it just kind of saw that. It just reminded me of one when those LAPD or LA sheriff's deputies were ambushed. But two is just another thing that just reminded me, like, man, we have so much craziness going on in our world, especially in the professional law enforcement, that we got to watch out for. So I don't know.
Yeah, someone just sent me a message on Instagram about that. Not about that, but about like, let me read this really quick. Just about like everything going on in law enforcement. Let me see if I can pull this up just real quick.
Somebody said, Mr. Johnson, drink. Oh man, there you go.
I need something because I got my okay, let me read this. It says, as the hate crimes against officers continue, including us, Ohio, losing an officer to a senseless execution, I'm telling you and my Leo friends to please return home safe after every shift. You are appreciated, and there's still many of us out there that want you around. So man, it's not going unnoticed.
It's not, man. So I just pray for, and anybody that's watching this that's in law enforcement, or you're trying to get in law enforcement, I just pray for all you guys, because it's crazy stuff going on. So with that being said, though, I want to hop right into this, because today's topic is actually going to be really, really good. And this is something that you guys probably all saw in your social medias. But what we're going to do is we're going to jump in and talk about that shooting that recently happened with LAPD. Officer accidentally killed the 14-year-old girl that was in the dressing room. It happened at Burlington Coat Factory. Now, I'm going to tell you guys my initial thoughts of it, and then we're going to actually do a little bit more of a breakdown to understand whether or not this was legit or not. And then I want to hear your initial thought, AJ, before we actually get into the breakdown. But when I first saw it, obviously there's a lot more that meets the eye. But when you hear the 14-year-old girl that died, one of the first things I asked was, okay, where was she at in comparison to the officer? But two, what was the exigency that caused the officer to have to use force? So one of the things that immediately stood out to me was an officer shot the suspect with a bicycle padlock. So that was the weapon he was using in the store. And my initial thought was, okay, like, I know that it can be used as a deadly weapon. I know he was trying to use it as a deadly weapon, but he wasn't necessarily coming at the officers and stuff like that. And so will the shooting be justified? Did the use of force, did the lethal force match up the force that was being presented by the suspect? That was my initial thought. But again, before I do anything, I always want to make sure I do as much research as I can. And that's what we're going to actually kind of get into today when we talk about whether or not this was a good shoot or not. So what was your initial thoughts, AJ, before we actually get into the breakdown of it?
Man, look, I've been out the game for a while, man. I've been sick for a while. So when I first heard about it, I thought it was tragic, and I was hoping that there was more to the story. So I'm gonna be watching all of these videos for the first time live. Like, we're gonna watch these together for the first time. So
Excellent.
let's do it.
Excellent. Good to hear. So, Billy, what I want you to do is I want to go ahead and get ready to cue the video up. And what we're going to do is to lay the foundation, I want to get into the call for service. Now, the call for service came in as a guy that was assaulting people in Burlington Coat Factory. But I want to listen to the radio calls, because the radio calls give a lot more context to the thought process and the decision making that goes on within the officer. So, Billy, go ahead and cue the video up to 542. And then let's go ahead and play this. This is actually real dispatch footage from our radio traffic that was called in by witnesses. Go ahead, Billy.
Guys with the gun.
You're where, Burlington, and what?
North Hollywood, please. Cold
Okay,
water and big.
I need a give me an address, and I know where you are.
No, this is Victory and cold water. The Burlington and North Hollywood.
You're giving me too many. Is there anybody there that knows the address where you are?
What is the number? The address here. 12. Oh my gosh. We don't know the address.
Where are you?
In North Hollywood.
I know that, but North Hollywood is big. Where?
Go ahead and pause it. So let's talk about that first. So she calls in and she says, hey, there's a guy with a gun. A guy with a gun. That was the first thing she said. So that automatically gets translated to the dispatchers. The dispatchers are listening to it. And how do you think the dispatchers are going to put this out of the radio? They're going to put this out as an active shooter. You know what I mean? As an active shooter, man with the gun, whatever it may be. So that was the first call. Now, what I want you to do, Billy, is go ahead and fast forward to 656 on the video. 656. This is another caller that called. Mind you, anytime calls like this come in, there's always multiple callers. So especially, and things start to be legit when you get multiple callers. And so go to 656 and let's hear what this person had to say.
It's just shot.
So he shot the gun?
Yes.
Okay, hold on. Don't hang up, ma'am. Don't hang up. Okay, you're not gonna hear me, but I can hear you. I'm gonna be talking to the officers. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Okay, go ahead and pause it. So she says he shot the gun. He shot the gun. So
and then it sounded like she said she's shooting everybody or something along those lines.
Yeah, exactly. So let's talk about mindset. The mindset right now is, as the officer, if you're the responding officer, my mindset is like, shoot, man, we going to an active shooter straight up. Like this guy is in Burlington Coat Factory. Yeah, this guy's going into Burlington Coat Factory. My mindset is like, man, like this is it. This is what we train for. So if that's my mindset, just by listening to this video, then that's probably what the mindset of these officers are. So now what I want you guys to think about too is this guy that's in this store. He's obviously in there causing, some chaos. There were multiple witnesses. One said they weren't sure he had a gun. There was a witness that called in and said, hey, look, I think he has bike lock or something like that, but there's multiple people. So now what I want you to do is I want you to go, there's actually a few things I want to talk about. So there's a few crimes that actually occur before this, and we can't, for the sake of time, we don't have time to get into it. But some of the crimes that the officers are responding to is you have a 211. So this guy tried to forcefully grab a purse from a lady inside the store. That's actually on tape. If you can watch this on the LAPD site. So that would be known as an armed robbery. The second thing you have is a 207, which is a kidnapping. And all you need for kidnapping is to basically force one place to take somebody from one place to another against their will. So now you have a kidnapping. And the other thing that you also have is you have an assault with a deadly weapon that has occurred, or at least an attempt at this moment in time. So you have 3 felonious crimes, very, very dangerous felonious crimes that have already occurred. So why is that important? Billy, do me a favor, go ahead and pull up Graham versus Connor, and we're going to talk about Graham versus Connor before we actually get into it. So these are the factors for Graham versus Connor. We've talked about it many times before. This is kind of what goes into officers utilizing force and basically utilizing reasonable force. So it says immediate threat to safety of officers or others. AJ, would you say that there was an immediate threat to the safety of officers or others?
Absolutely. Others, yeah, for sure. And officers responding.
Okay, perfect. So now you have a person actively resisting. Would you say that this person was actively resisting at this moment in time, even if it was passive?
I mean, at this point, I don't believe that there's officers present, so I would say that he's not actively resisting yet.
Yep. And then now we said circumstances, tense, uncertain, rapidly evolving, pace of events, split-second judgment. So that's one of the prongs. The circumstances, obviously, we haven't had any officers on scene yet. Those are things to consider. Now, the severity of the crime. What would you think the severity of the crime? How does that play into this, AJ?
Oh, them is big boy felonies. You know, you trying to felonious assault somebody. I mean, other than that, rape, murder are the only things that are, you know, more severe than that. Kidnapping.
Yeah, exactly. And the last one is attempting to evade seizure by flight. So we haven't gotten there yet because the police officers haven't responded. So now what we're going to do is we're going to actually get into some of this guy's erratic behavior. And I want you guys to see what this guy's doing. So Billy, do me a favor. Go ahead, AJ.
I was just gonna say it's also important to understand that in Graham versus Connor, that's the case law that allows police officers nationwide to use force. You don't have to meet all of those prongs to use force. You can meet one of those prongs. So if we show up and someone's actively trying to evade arrest, like that's enough for us to use force.
So real quick, I want to address a question that just came in. Jose said Burlington doesn't have security; they have a loss prevention program, and that's true. And let's just say they did have a security guard. The security guards typically aren't equipped to deal with something like this. This is why it's important to still have police. You know, we've had all these things talk about the defund movement, abolish police. Well, there's a reason why you need police. Security guards are not equipped to handle these situations. And even if you do have a loss prevention program, their primary focus is obviously dealing with people that are stealing from the store, not necessarily committing crimes in the store or violent crimes in the store. So good question. So now, Billy, do me a favor. Go ahead and cruise to 21:15. And I want to watch this part of the video. So let's go ahead and watch this part of the video. And I'm actually going to talk through it just because our podcast is going to be aired on iTunes. Jeez. But what we're looking at this guy, the lady's going down the escalator and the suspect is down at the bottom of the escalator. Now he still has that bike lock in hand. He tries to assault her. Now you have this other lady slowly coming down the escalator.
And he didn't try. He pushed her down the escalator.
Yeah, exactly. He pushed her down the escalator.
Pants off?
Yes. So now he has his pants off. So now look what he does is like she has a cane. So that tells me she's either handicapped or she's elderly. So he goes after her. He tries to get her cane. Now my man starts to take his pants off. Pause it right there, Billy. Now, AJ, somebody takes their pants off in the middle of Burlington Coat Factory. What does that tell you about this person, or possibly tell you about this person?
They're going through some mental health issues. They
all
struggling with some drugs or
all the way turned out, right? It's not normal behavior for a person to take off their clothes in the middle of Burlington Coat Factory.
Unless you're Billy.
Unless you're Billy, right?
Come on.
come on. Billy's just trying to make sure this podcast goes well right now.
As soon as Billy get in the crack section, it's just clothes coming everywhere.
All right, so let's go ahead and go to 2404, Billy. 2404.
All right, here we go.
All right, so at this moment in time, we're going to actually watch this guy physically assault a woman with a bike lock. So go ahead and press play. What we're watching, for those of you guys that are listening to this in your car, we are watching this surveillance footage of the Burlington Coat Factory show physically start to assault,
wailing on her over the head with a bike lock, right?
Yeah, it's a random. It's one of those hard ones too. That like
8, 9, 10 times already.
Yeah, it's not over yet. So let's keep playing it.
Yikes! And she didn't even see it coming.
So again, we're watching it, and if you guys are listening to this on iTunes, make sure you guys go watch the YouTube version of this so you guys can see what we're talking about. So he's still going. We're about a minute into this, and he
dragged her to the ground.
So now you have a 207 because that's moving a person from one place to another, which is kidnapping against her will. So you have
like 13 strikes so far.
Yep.
That quick moment is considered a kidnapping?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
So now he's still going. So not only do we have assault with a deadly weapon, but you can actually argue attempted murder at this point because you have
he hit her in the head. Or she bleeding. Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So go ahead and let's see let's continue. Actually, he's going to continue.
He just dragged her down.
So now he's grabbing her by the hair.
Oh, she is bleeding.
Yeah. So he's still hitting her over the head with his bike lock.
Ain't nobody helping. Oh, kicked her in the face.
Kicks in the face.
We're about to get kicked off Facebook first time we're live.
Really?
No, I don't know.
Oh, well, all right. So pause it right there.
Okay.
All right. So what we just watched is the suspect is actively assaulting this lady with the bike lock. It starts as, just, he hits her a few times, but he continues to just pummel this lady. Now imagine, I want you, if you're the listener or viewer of this podcast today, I want you to imagine being your mom, your sister, your cousin, your grandmother. Just imagine somebody's just out shopping for the holidays and some random guy hyped up on drugs just starts actively assaulting your loved one. How is that going to make you feel, right? That's going to make me feel terrible, and it's going to make me want to know, like, the police officers better get there quickly and stop this guy. I mean, what would you guys think if you found out, hey, your mom called you, your wife called you and said, hey, look, somebody's actually beating my mom up or my wife?
I'm a pray the police get there before I do.
Yeah.
That's what I'm gonna do.
Me too. What about you, Billy?
Oh, same. Sorry, I'm just concentrating on other stuff.
No,
Billy putting them Crocs in all-wheel drive and is hoofing it.
I'm pulling the back flap on the Crocs. Yeah, it's going down.
Billy, I just airdropped you something that I want you to add into the stream, so we'll pull it up in a little bit. So that's the mindset. So this is what we have. So again, you have multiple callers saying that, hey, there's shots fired, possible shot fired. Some people saying that this guy is in there assaulting people. Multiple people keep calling in. This is what the officers are responding to, and there's a reason we're walking you through from the very start to the very end of this, because this is all going to lead to whether or not the shooting was justified or not. So that's what we have. Now let me pull back up the last thing. Now, Billy, what I need you to do, Billy's going to be mad at me here in a second. Go ahead and fast forward, and I want you to go to about 33 minutes. Actually, go back to 32:30.
Great.
Then let's go ahead and watch this. Now, this is going to be officers' response to this situation.
Watch. I got you back.
Just go back to like 30 minutes. Sorry about that. I want to see the 31. Go back. Go to 30 minutes. Sorry about that. I want to watch the original officer. Yeah, keep going. Keep going back. Keep going back. There we go. Keep going. Right there. All right, so pause it. So what we're about to watch, guys, now what we're about to watch is we're about to watch the original officer. We're about to watch the original officer go back into the store right now. They arrive on scene, and now it's time for them to go in there and stop this threat. So mind you, this is if you're the officer on scene, you're the guy, you're going to a possible active shooter. And there's actually a part right before they get into the store where they say diamond formation. Do you guys train with diamond formations, AJ?
So we do, but we train to where if it's an active shooter, we stack up. There's two of us, we go in. We wait for one other officer, and we just go in to preserve life.
Yeah, exactly. So what a diamond formation is essentially is where you got an active shooter team that forms up. You got a person that's at running point that's in the front. You got a person to the rear, and you got two people on the side. Mm-hmm. When these guys go 97, which means they arrive on scene, when they get there, they say, hey, diamond formation. That tells me mindset. And some of you guys are going to probably think like this is the smallest thing. Who cares about what them saying actively that this is a diamond formation? The reason it's important is because you got to think about mindset to determine whether or not actions are also legit. So when they're saying diamond formation, that tells me in their minds, they're actually thinking that this is an active shooter, not knowing whether or not this person has a bike lock. And just mind you, an active shooter doesn't necessarily be somebody actually shooting somebody with a gun. An active shooter can be a guy that has a knife and meleeing everybody in the store. An active shooter can be somebody that has a baseball bat and he's hitting people actively. So this would technically classify as an active shooter. All right, so let's go ahead and watch this guy make entry into this store and see what he does.
Is this the right spot?
Yes, this is the right spot. Go ahead and press play. What we're watching is the guy that actually ends up being the shooter. He's making entry into the store. He has a rifle slung over his chest with a scope on it. And so a lot of times, because they don't know what the threat is, they don't know if the guy's handgun, they don't know if he has a rifle. They're making entry, and they use the long gun just to make sure.
Hey, slow down. Let me take point with the rifle.
That's good. He's taking charge. He got a long gun.
So he says, let me take point with the rifle. He wants to have the long gun in front.
You got it.
Common practice.
He's hitting right on the right hand side. Hey, she's bleeding. She's bleeding.
So pause. So the primary officer says she's bleeding. They see this girl right here. Blood is covering her face. Like,
yeah, it is. It's like
she
matted
looks
her
like
hair.
she is just down and out. He says she's bleeding. She's bleeding. Now let me ask you, if you're the officer on scene, you've been listening to all the radio traffic, you've been hearing what the call for service, think it's a shooting, you get there, victim's bleeding. What is your initial thought? My initial thought is, shoot, man, this dude is actually in here trying to kill people.
Yeah. I mean, he was
trying to kill people.
Yeah,
he was killing. Yeah, you know what I mean. So he has a long gun, and so he sees the suspect. He looks past the victim and sees the suspect, and he's down a low aisle. So now he fires 3 shots. So go ahead and press play, Billy.
Stop fire. Hey,
Deposit. So they at this moment in time, suspect is down. They're telling him to get on his stomach so they can handcuff him. They do not know the girl is in the dressing room at this moment in time. They don't know that. They have no idea that this girl is actually in the dressing room. So they start handling business. It's not till a couple seconds later that you hear still screaming in there, and then that's when they find out. So now, Billy, what I want you to do, I'm sorry about that. Now what I want you to do is go to 33-17.
Was that 3 shots or 2?
Start tying this all together.
Sorry, we're doing this live, everyone.
No, this is good. This is good.
We'll do it live.
All right, you guys good to go?
Yep, go ahead and press play. This is everybody else's body cam.
Slow down. Hey, she's bleeding. Hold up. I got her. Get him handcuffed and search her. Get him handcuffed and search.
All right, you go and stop it, Billy. Come back to us. All right. So the officers, they make way. They see the lady bleeding. The officer makes a quick decision, and decides to utilize deadly force. Billy, do me a favor one last time. Pull up Graham versus Connor, and let's go back over these prongs, and then we're going to decide whether or not the shooting itself is first justified, and then we'll talk about the 14-year-old girl. So let's go back over this again. Immediate threat to safety of officers or others. Do we have that?
Oh, yeah.
What would you say, Billy?
Yeah, absolutely.
Absolutely have it, right? Actively resisting. Do we have that, AJ?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he's seen the officers and started to walk away from them, so.
Yep. What about you, Billy? What do you think? We have it?
Yeah.
All right, cool. Were the circumstances tense, uncertain, rapidly evolving?
All the above.
Yes.
All the above. What about you guys? Johnny said yes. Well, and you guys feel free to put in the comment sections what you guys think. So a lot of you guys said yes on that. All right. The severity of the crime. Do we have pretty serious crime at this moment in time? Would you guys agree?
Oh, yeah, he was trying to kill her.
Yeah, he's trying to kill her, right? He wasn't stopping. All right. Was he attempting to evade the seizure of the officers? Yes or no?
Yeah, I would say he was. I mean, I'm muting my mic. Yeah, I would say he saw the officers started walking away, which is why he quit beating on her.
Yeah, I would say that. And one thing I didn't show earlier is that he actually sees, so there's a surveillance video that shows the guy running up the escalator, and shortly after the officers are following behind. So he knows the officers are there. He knows the officers there because he can clearly see him running up the escalator and trying to flee from the officers. So you can come back full screen. So now that we have Graham versus Connor, what that basically sets sets the table for whether or not these officers can use reasonable force. And in this situation, the officer chose to use lethal force. Now, I know what my opinion is, but do you guys think that it was reasonable for that officer to take the shot to utilize the appropriate to prevent the escape, overcome resistance, and effect an arrest? Do you guys think that was reasonable for him to take that shot?
Yeah, I would say he absolutely was justified in using that force, because at that point he can articulate that he is still a danger, and if he allows him to flee, then he continues to be a danger to the general public. I mean, he was just beating this woman over the head with a padlock. Like, she's covered in blood. For those of you who are not watching, who will listen to this later, like, this woman was covered in blood to where the point, like, her hair was like matted down with blood. Like, that's how much she was bleeding. We just can't let people like that walk away, because if we do, the chances that he comes across somebody else and attempts to harm them in the same manner is extremely likely. So I would say based off of that circumstance and everything else, like absolutely that officer is justified in using deadly force.
And not only that, the other thing to consider too is as he's turning away from the officers, he could be going to somebody else in the store. And he's already shown that he has a propensity for violence. So he's already shown that he's shown by his actions with the other ladies. He's shown by beating this lady up. So if they let this guy get away, then he could potentially injure or kill somebody else, right? So those are all these factors that we have to take into consideration. And so now that we have all that taken into consideration, I personally think that this was a justified shooting. Now, the reason it's important to understand that this was a justified shooting is because sadly, what that officer did not know is that there was a girl and her mom in the dressing room right behind that suspect. Didn't know that. There was no way for them to know that. There was no way. It wasn't that. It wasn't. Nobody called out and said, "Hey, hey, there's an officer back," or "Hey, we're back here." Nobody said that. Nobody said anything like that. There was no way. And not only that, that time that he had to make that decision was so fast that there was no way for the officer to know that somebody was in that dressing room. So what ended up happening was the bullet actually skipped the ground and actually hit the young 14-year-old girl in there. And it's tragic. It is tragic. So this was just an unfortunate circumstance that officer is now put in because he's doing his job and unfortunately kills the little girl who was in the stall or in the dressing room behind him. Now, this is what makes me angry. This is what makes me angry about the whole thing. Billy, did you bring that picture? Did you upload it into this thing yet?
I will in a second.
Yeah, go upload that into the thing because there's been a lot of talk about this situation of whether or not it was right, whether or not it was wrong. Why are we not having the suspect, or why are we not holding the suspect accountable for his actions? Because had it not been for this suspect, that girl wouldn't be dead. Had it not been for him, those officers would have never had to respond the way they did and put that little girl and her mom into a compromising position. That's what makes me so upset. What we want to do, though, is we want to talk about, whether we want to say, oh, you know what, was the officer, was he a good shot? Did he make the right adjustments? Did he know the girl was in there? Instead of just actually saying like, no, this dude is the one that caused this whole unfortunate circumstance. What's your thought on that, AJ?
So I'll never forget, like when I was involved in my officer involved shooting back in 2014, I shot through a door. All right. And I pretty much knew where my target was. And I could see enough through the opening of the door to where I knew where I wanted to place my rounds, right? Like I wanted my rounds to hit my target. But if they went through him, I pretty much knew I wanted to put him like in this wall in the hallway. So afterwards, I'm being interviewed by the detectives and they asked me a question. They go, "Hey, where do you think your rounds went?" And my heart immediately sank. And I was like, oh my goodness, like I hit somebody else. Like I hit an innocent person in the house. And I was like, I think they went into the hallway to the left, into the drywall. Like that's where I was aiming. I kind of canted my gun at an angle so they would hit him and then go through into that drywall. And then I was immediately thinking like, man, like what if that was like a hollow wall? Somebody was on the other side of that. Thank God nobody wasn't. But if there was, one, I would have had to live with that, right? Like that would have been extremely hard. Like I would still be dealing with that today. But two, I still would have been justified in using my force. So it's a tough position because as that officer, I'm sure, saw before delivering those shots, he thought his backdrop was clear. That's a big thing for us. And we have to be accountable for every round, meaning we have to know what our backdrop is. Meaning if Ryan's stabbing somebody and I have my gun on him, but there's 10 kids behind him, I can't take that shot because I might hit one of these kids. Now, if there's a wall behind him, I could take that shot because I could articulate there's nothing there. That's a tough position to be in. I mean, I think the officer did what he was supposed to do, what he was trained to do, what our case law states that we're allowed to do legally. And it's just a very, very, very bad situation. But I'm with you on this. I'm with you. Like there needs to be an uproar. There needs to be people upset about this. And it needs to be at the suspect. Like that's what people need to be upset about.
And if you ask me, the suspect was held accountable for his action. Hence, I mean, he died. So I mean, he's being held accountable. But what I mean when I say accountability is more so the people that are watching this, we should be pointing the finger at the suspect. We should be pointing the finger at the system that allowed this person to be free. And now, mind you, I don't know this guy's rap sheet. I should probably look into his rap sheet and see if he should have been on the streets or not, because that's another big topic right now. Is a lot of these people that are getting let out that have criminal history, extensive criminal history, all sorts of things. That's been a hot topic of discussion. So maybe we should look back into that. But that's the accountability piece I'm talking to. So again, now what I want Billy to do is I found this on Instagram, and this is what made me so upset about the whole case. This is what it said. Make it bigger, Billy.
Wow.
It says, make it full screen. Take me away from it.
Oh, okay.
So it says, this was somebody's post. It says, justice for Valentina. Wanted dead or alive, eye for an eye. Maybe this mommy should scream like Valentine's mom had to. George Floyd, Elijah McClain, Philando Castile, Michael Brown, Terrence Clarcher, Eric Gardner, Alan Sterling, the list goes on. And at the end of it is Valentina. At the end, it says, enough is enough. This is a problem. This is absolutely a problem for many reasons. One, why would we now threaten the officer's life, not just the life of the officer, but his family, because this officer did his job and stopped a suspect? Don't get me wrong. It is terrible that Valentina died, but why would we now start threatening the life of this officer for doing his job? And that goes back to the accountability piece. It's like, if we're putting the accountability on the appropriate person, then you wouldn't look through the lens like you're looking through when you make a post like that. So not only is this person have a large account that put this up, but now you're getting other people that are adding fuel to a burning fire because they already don't like police. So that's issue number one. The second issue is that you're lumping this girl into another group of people that have also been killed by police, but all these people that were killed by police, all those names that you mentioned, were all killed under different circumstances, some justified, some unjustified. So how do you lump this girl in with everybody else when all the circumstances are different? I have a problem with that. Obviously, my bigger problem is the fact that they're trying to threaten this officer and his family because this officer did his job. You think this officer doesn't already feel bad about it? I mean, I would, if it was me, I would lose sleep over that. I would lose. It's already hard enough to kill a suspect that was doing something. You know,
absolutely,
absolutely. Suspect and go home and sleep peacefully at night. No, it doesn't work like that. So it's already hard enough for that officer to process the fact that he killed a suspect, yet alone a 14-year-old girl who's in there with her mom.
Right. I wonder if anyone has talked to the mother who was in the dressing room. I wonder if like contact has been made. Like if she's like being outspoken about this. I mean, that'd be a hard, situation. I can't imagine how hard of a situation that is for the mother, but I'm just curious as to if anyone's like reached out to her and like talked to her about like the incident and whatnot.
So I have heard that, and I haven't been able to confirm this, but I have heard that the family actually understands the law enforcement officer's actions. Obviously, but they haven't been super outspoken about whether or not, they are mad at the police and all this stuff. And I wouldn't be surprised if they change their tune. Once all it takes is one attorney to get behind them and say, hey, let's go after the whole LAPD and take all the money away. And I've seen people turn like that. They know things are justified, but then again, they see opportunity. Now I'm hoping that isn't this family, but I have heard that they are understanding. But again, I have to double check that. So here's a comment that came in from Bill, which I think is actually pretty good discussion. It says, use of force justified from everything I watched, but choice of patrol rifle over handgun will be an issue. Would be interesting to know what LAPD protocols are for deployment of rifles. Now, I think that's a good question. It's a good topic. And AJ, I want to hear your opinion. My initial thoughts are, if you're going to an active shooter, or at least what you believe is an active shooter, there are unknown threats that you're going to face once you get into this building. It'd be different if these officers absolutely knew this guy had a padlock and that's it. I mean, let's just say that they knew he had a padlock, but you can't assume that he doesn't have other weapons. You can't assume that he doesn't have a firearm on him. So these officers are going into an unknown environment with unknown weapons. And so because of that, a lot of times we'll utilize a patrol rifle because let's just say this guy is distance. These officers encounter that threat. A patrol rifle is going to give you more accuracy than a handgun would. And I'll give you a prime example. The agency I work for a few years ago, very similar circumstances in that the officers at the time responded to an active shooter at the grocery store. Now, this guy had already walked in. He had already shot somebody. Then he takes a person hostage. So officers make entry into the store, active shooter like diamond formation. They turn a corner, and as they turn that corner, they encounter the suspect who is holding this one girl, the victim, by around her neck, and he's pointing a revolver at her head. Now, as soon as one of our officers sees this, he has his eyes down the scope, able to make a successful shot, and he stops the threat right then and there. Doesn't shoot her or anything, and takes him out. Now, that's a prime example of why a long rifle would be used in a circumstance like this, because it gives you that ability, if you encounter a long threat, to reach a person and be more accurate. So it's actually the reason a patrol rifle might be utilized in a situation is so that way you can avoid, hitting somebody or shooting somebody unintentionally, because it has better accuracy. And what's your thought?
Yeah, so here long guns are always a preference, especially for point. So like if there's an active shooter, I said before that we wait until there's at least 2 of us. That way we could go in. 4 would be ideal. But we always wait for a long gun. That way they have point, whether it's a shotgun or a rifle. And it's for that reason. It packs more punch. That way, you could go through that target and, go on to the next one. But that could have easily happened with a pistol as well. So I don't really see the rifle being an issue. I'm sure they're going to make everything about this an issue, unfortunately. But at the end of the day, this is a tough position to be in. I think the officer did exactly what he was supposed to do. What he was trained to do, and it's very unfortunate that young lady lost her life. I'm gonna pray for her family. I'm gonna pray for that officer. It's hard for everyone. It's hard for everyone involved, and I'm not saying that because I know how someone will take this statement and run with it, and it'll be in an article somewhere and all this stuff. But if you interviewed the lady who was getting beat with a padlock, I'm sure that her testimony would shed a little insight. Now, I'm not saying that the girl should have lost her life or anything like that, so please don't take it that way. But it's just it's all relative.
Yeah, I agree. And somebody said that it's all about accountability of each round that leaves the end of the barrel. That's why long guns, pistols, red dots, and things of that sort are preferred. It's true. So when we talk, going back to defunding, when you defund, how are officers supposed to be able to put themselves in a position to obtain certain equipment like this that can actually help prevent situations like this? This was just a tragic accident by the officer. The officer shouldn't be ridiculed. Now, I want you guys to keep in mind that this is just the very beginning of this investigation. This investigation could last years, and so people have to understand that this is not going to be something that's over and done with right away, because they got to go and interview every witness. They got to interview every single officer. They got to understand their mindset. They're going to be talking about things like, okay, somebody mentioned diamond formation. Why'd you hop into diamond formation? What was the information you received from dispatch? This is all stuff that goes into figuring out whether or not the shooting was justified. Let me take a pause real quick. If you guys are watching this on YouTube right now, I see there's a whole bunch of people in here. Make sure you guys hit that like button, because this is going to pump us up in the algorithm and make sure that we continue to grow. So I want to make sure I throw that in there. Make sure you guys hit that like button for us if you guys enjoy this content. I asked a question earlier if somebody who was going to be representing this family, or whether or not this family was going to try to go after the department. Somebody said, I don't know if this is true or not, but somebody said that I guess Ben Crump is representing the family. I hope that's not true.
Let me check.
That is an opportunist. That person is an opportunist, and he looks for things like this to elevate himself. And I will come out and say that. And I know this personally, just because I've talked to people who have had to be represented by or gotten into a situation, and they had to look for, somebody to represent them. So this was just tragic all the way around. I mean, Billy, what are your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I mean, I don't have much to add, but like if you're going around swinging a large bike lock at people's heads, you kind of lost your right to leave the building safely. And then the young girl, I don't want anyone to think our explanation is trying to downplay how horrible that is, but it was an accident. There's no way around it,
Yeah.
So Ben Crump 8 hours ago posted on his Instagram a picture with the family, holding up a picture of the deceased young lady, and it says her name. Family is mourning the loss of 14-year-old Valentina, all because of the senseless is in all capital letters, actions of LAPD officers. This young, innocent teen deserves more from the police. We need accountability and answers for her death. He tagged somebody, thanks for sharing this photo and for all of your work on the front line in these cases. and he tagged some.
What's their argument on what was done wrong? Like they went in like Rambo, or like what are they going to try to say?
Well, and that's the thing, and that, again, it goes back to being an opportunist. He just sees
Mhm.
that an innocent person was killed by police, and in this case, it was legitimately an innocent person that was killed by police. But the circumstances of why that innocent person was killed by police were only because of the suspect who was the person that caused all of this, and that's what makes me so angry, because you got guys like Ben Crump that are trying to turn this on the police and make it the police's fault. That's why, I'm not just saying this to say it, guys. You guys need to share the content we have. I'm not saying that because I want more subscribers. I'm not saying that because I want more likes. I'm saying that because right now, this officer, not only does he have to think about the fact of he killed an innocent little girl, but now he has to worry about all these people that are trying to jump onto a civil case. And AJ just got done with the civil case, and he can tell you how terrible it is. But now he has to worry about a civil case, a criminal case, losing his job, losing his house, all this other things because he was doing his job.
Yeah.
That's why it's so important that we share these type of things and share these videos, because we need the truth to get out there about why officers are doing their job, and then under the circumstances what we're doing our job. Tell us about that civil situation that you went through, AJ, just because that right there is a lot different.
I mean, it just, I'll speak for the one that I just went through. It really just shed light on like exactly what you were talking about as far as like opportunists. Like there are attorneys out there who all they see is green, and then they'll stand in front of cameras and talk about Black Lives Matter, but for the right price, they'll say the complete opposite. And they have their agendas, but it was really eye-opening for me, just because the amount of lies and like deceit that was spread like throughout the case was so blatant. Thankfully the jury saw it, but it made me think of like how many other cases these high-end big city attorneys represent and lead that are successfully swayed, all because of like these lies and this deceit and this anti-police agenda. I mean, this is a perfect example of how tough is the job of a law enforcement officer. Like this officer took point, like put himself in that position. Like, okay, I have the long gun. I want to be point. There's victims down. She's bleeding. He sees the person. He takes the shot thinking he's being, not thinking, but knowing that he's being everything that he has been trained to be, and stopping that threat. Why? Why did he do that? To preserve life. And ultimately it costs someone else their life. Like that's difficult. That's really, really, really hard. And it just shows like the complexity that we have to navigate through as law enforcement officials. And I know somebody's going to watch this and say, oh, well, they're just undermining the death of this young lady. And imagine what it's like for the mother who had to hold her daughter. Like, I can't imagine what that's like. And like I said before in the podcast, like I'm praying for that family because I'm a man of faith, and that means the world to me. Like there's power in prayer. So I'm praying for peace and understanding. And that's why I asked if anyone had reached out to the mother, but then it looks like the attorney Ben Crump already has, because I would love for instances like this for the mother to sit down with that officer. No cameras, no notepads, no phones recording, no Instagram posts. You put them in a room, you close the door, and you just let them talk. Yeah. And I guarantee you when they walk out, there'll be some sort of understanding. I'm not saying that's going to wipe away the hurt. I'm not saying that's going to make everything better, but there will at least be an understanding. Like that's a difficult job. That's a very difficult job. What if he didn't take that shot and he did pull out a knife, or he started bashing people's face in with the pat? Like we don't know what could have happened. And I'm not saying that, I know how someone's going to take this. It's just, it's difficult. Like this is a very difficult position to be in. Yes, it's rough.
Yeah, that's super rough. You're right. You're spot on with that, man. You're spot on with that. Let's get to a couple questions before we start wrapping this podcast up. But somebody said, Johnny said, are there steps in place in California to make sure this officer gets the counseling and support he needs? I will tell you, in California, a lot of departments are moving to officer well-being. And one of the big things and big plays on that is mental health. Mm-hmm. And so I would say that there are a lot of parameters in place to help this officer out. I don't know how LAPD does it right now, but I would only pray that they do right by the officer. I know when I was involved in my situation, they sent me up to a retreat for 3 days where I was around other people that were involved in law enforcement officer involved shootings, and so it was tremendously helpful for me. And so that's getting a lot better. Go ahead, AJ.
I just want to put this out there. I am a board member of a mental health retreat for law enforcement and our first responders and their spouses. It's called the First Responders Bridge Retreat. I'm gonna plug that in there because I firmly believe in it, which is why I'm a board member. If anyone listening to this knows that officer, reach out to them. Let them know the organization. We'll fly them out. We'll put them up in a hotel for free. It's a 3-day event. And for anybody else that is seeking like a mental health retreat or like a reset or just preventative maintenance, like I highly encourage you check it out. There are other ones out there, but just make sure you're taking care of yourself.
There it is. Somebody also asked the question, does this seem similar to Breonna Taylor? Officer shoots, an innocent person dies, except this situation we have a true victim. There's similarities, but then there's also a lot of differences. Should Breonna Taylor have died? No, but her boyfriend is the one that put her in a situation that caused her death. And so, sometimes when you hang out around people that aren't doing the right things, then that could lead to you being put in a bad situation. In this situation, that's how this situation differs, is that lady and her mom, or that girl and her mom, had no clue that they were going to be in Burlington Coat Factory, and this guy chose to come in there and just start causing chaos. There was nothing that they could have did different that could have changed this situation. There was nothing, if you ask me, there's nothing that the officers that could have done different, given their mindset of the circumstances, that would have had a different outcome. This is just an unfortunate situation. And it's sad, unless you have anything else. And make sure you guys listen to that Breonna Taylor episode, because you guys will actually hear the other side. If you haven't listened to it already, make sure you guys take a listen to, I think it was 3 episodes ago, the Breonna Taylor situation. Yeah.
It's a lose-lose situation, man. I mean, it really is. Earlier I described a situation where Ryan is like stabbing somebody, and there's like 10 children behind him, and I have what I believe is a good shot on Ryan, but I can't take it because there's children, there are innocent people behind him that I could see who could be affected by me taking this shot. Now, what if he grabs somebody else and starts stabbing them? And then what if he grabs somebody else and starts stabbing them? But those 10 children are still there. Like, at some point, a decision has to be made. Like, okay, I have to stop this. And I'm not saying that this was that circumstance or the Breonna Taylor circumstance, but it's just food for thought. Officers are placed in very difficult situations, and these officers, more times than not, if you ask me, rely on their training, rely on case laws, right? So let's just rewind a little bit. We talked about Graham versus Connor. This is the case law that governs use of force nationwide. This isn't just a California thing. This isn't just an Ohio. Like, this is a nationwide case law that governs how use of force is used and when. So if they're relying on this case law that says, yes, you could use force, then how can we in the same breath say, well, the officers were wrong? Do you have an issue with the officer, or do you have an issue with the case law?
Yeah.
And it seems like more times than not, there's issues with outside circumstances or other circumstances, but it normally falls on the officer because we are the easy target. And once again, full transparency, we've said it 1,000 times. We'll say it 1,000 more. There are bad police officers.
Yeah.
Right. We've said that. But I'm saying more times than not, officers rely on their training. Officers rely on case law, the stuff that's just it's drilled into our brain nonstop. So this is a tough situation. This is a very, 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 very difficult situation.
Somebody asked a question earlier, what should the family do? And I like my buddy's response. He said they should get a settlement. It's what's deserved, but no way the officer should be fired or prosecuted. He's absolutely right. When you take the life of, another innocent person, accidentally, I think absolutely they should get a settlement because they deserve that. You know what I mean? Money cannot bring a person back at all, but at the same time, it's the least that we can do when we're doing our job. And this is just unfortunate circumstances of doing our job. But what they shouldn't do is they shouldn't drag the officer or this agency through the mud because they're saying that there's a lack of training or the officers were whatever Benjamin Crump said. That's
senseless act.
Senseless act of violence
from LAPD, and that post Billy put up like really just rubbed me the wrong. Like you trying to put a hit out on an officer.
Yeah,
man, it's we live in interesting times. We live in really interesting times. And Ryan, I think you hit the nail right on the head. Like, at what point do we get upset at the person who caused this entire incident?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, guys, this was definitely a good episode. I mean, and this is a phenomenal set. I hope you guys are loving this setup. I am. I mean, this is
someone asked if we could do live once a month, but I actually think
we're planning on doing this every episode.
So if you guys are normal listeners, we're gonna post it like normal, just exactly the same, but just also go live while recording.
How I see these comments though? Where are all my comments at? I'm trying to see some.
Far right, do you see on the far right? Do you see anything like comments or?
No, I just see.
Do us a favor before we get off. Take a picture of what you see, and we'll make sure that we make you on that. But
Ryan got the fancy desk. Billy got the mic popping.
I was here slaving putting this desk together today.
That's a nice looking desk.
Appreciate that. I came in, he had a speaker blaring some music, and he was building.
Was this from Kurt Franklin?
Hey, here goes a comment you can see.
You picking and choosing? I got you. Okay, I do got bootleg internet. I got to call him actually.
Hey, so shout out, but do us a favor though. If you guys like this, make sure you guys hit that like button, because what you guys do when you guys like and subscribe to our page, it bumps us up in the algorithm. So that way more people, the people that need to hear this, they can hear and see this episode of the podcast. So go ahead.
This might can I go live? So like, I know we're live right now, but through this same setup, can I go live on like some of my platforms?
Yes, I believe so.
Yeah, really, like during the podcast, we go live on multiple platforms.
So like if I was the Oh No It's the Popo, Facebook and Instagram.
And don't leave, y'all, because we got one other thing, so don't leave yet. But
Instagram, I don't know, but I know like your Facebook and YouTube, absolutely.
Yeah.
Oh,
this
about to get rowdy. Okay.
Hey, so Billy, do me a favor. Do we have drum roll on that or no?
No. Oh. I am still behind on the cool sound effects. So I apologize.
It's okay. Whatever.
Worse.
But I do know we got an applause. So go ahead.
We got slideshows. Slideshows.
So now with the one has to go, not only can you guys hear what me, AJ, and Billy think, but we also want to hear what y'all have to say in the comment section. Funny. So this is what we're gonna do. So one has to go, guys. And if you guys are new to this podcast, what we do is we pick a few items and we just figure out which one we're going to get rid of. You got to get rid of it forever. We pick one. So this is always a fun part of our segment. So let's go ahead and do it. Give me one more time round of applause. AJ or Billy just got love to hear it. There it is. Boom. All right.
The one button we got.
One button we do got. All right. So one has to go. Hit me with the first one, Billy. Cakes. So cake.
Why is that the picture you chose for cakes?
Because I thought you like chocolate cake.
Out of all the cake, like that's what you put up there. All right, next.
All right, whatever. Cakes. First one. Go ahead, Billy. What's the second one? What do we got? Candy. So candy. Okay. Some candy. Go with the third one, Billy. Cookies.
Oh, this is tough.
Cookies, and then go with the last one. 4, ice cream. So I know what I'm gonna pick. I'm gonna pick. So to review it, we got cakes. We got candy, and I'm talking about the cakes I'm talking about the PG cakes, not the X-rated cakes.
Cake.
So
no one got rid of cakes for some reason. We don't know.
I don't think anyone was thinking that.
So you got cakes, candy, cookies, and ice cream. So what do you got, AJ?
That's tough.
I'm gonna start putting some of these up here so that way you guys can.
I was gonna say ice cream, but then I was like, we gotta get rid of candy. So I'm gonna go candy. Candy gotta go.
Candy gotta go. What you got, Billy?
Look, ice cream on cookies, amazing.
Yeah.
Candy, like I love like Sour Patch Kids and all candies. I'm going cake.
Oh, are you freaking serious? We about to
I
see this.
think ice
This is
cream
how we get into it, y'all. This is how we
you
get
can't
ice
get rid of
cream on
cake.
top of cookies is like better than cake.
What about ice cream cake?
I don't know.
All right.
Hey, he hit me with the.
So Billy, my boy Ike is going cakes. You guys are sure. I'm going candy. Candy got to go.
Yeah,
like
candy
cool,
gotta
but but
yeah,
cakes.
especially the picture of candy you had, like hard.
my boo boo's cakes. I hope she watching this.
Now we talking about Sour Patch Kids and M&Ms and Kit Kats.
I get it.
No, you're not going to go to the movies with a cake.
Yes, you are. Actually, me and my wife went to the movies last week, and I was gonna bring a Cinnabon in there, which I would consider that a cake.
Hey, that's that Billy. That's that. You guys gotta buy your own. They don't sell cake at the movie theaters, guys.
You were never sneaking outside food.
Why is AJ's pockets lined with plastic, guys? What's going on?
Oh God!
I'll pull an air fryer out of the movie theater. You better quit playing with me.
Straight up. You better believe that. Somebody in here cooking.
Yo, want some of this?
Oh man. So hey guys, this was honestly, man, this was just a tremendous episode, guys. It is so funny to see where we started from. I keep saying this, but literally we started in our own bedrooms, literally or actually on the couch.
Yeah, on the couch in the
conversation
in
the living room. We moved forward. We started doing it. I created an office at my house. Then we end up getting my girl and I took Chipotle in one day. Hey, shout out to you, Hope Burritos.
Burritos are good. You can hide that in a purse pretty easy.
But yeah, so we went to the office at my house. AJ set up something in his basement, and then we moved into a studio about 2 years ago. And that studio was very, very small. I mean, but we made it work. We made it work. All the content you guys see on Instagram and everything like that, you guys saw that. And then now we expanded the studio recently. And with this expansion of the studio, it just continues to grow. So I'm super fortunate for all of you guys. We wouldn't be able to grow if it wasn't for you guys. And so I appreciate you guys. I'll do this for you 1 second. So make sure you guys follow me, and I'm gonna go ahead and add AJ's on there as well. Y'all like that, huh? At Oh No It's the Popo.
Way official.
Yeah, no, it's how do you spell it?
It's the
Popo. My Ebonics is not working right now. It's been a while, so add banner. But make sure you guys follow us on our social media pages and everything like that. Make sure you guys give us a like button. But hey, we appreciate you guys. We're going to be doing this live every week, which will be a challenge. There may be some weeks where we can't do a live, just given our travel schedules and all the other stuff and what we got to do and all the speaking engagements. But for the most part, we will try to come to you guys live like this every single week because it improves our content. And then I'm going to be doing more online platform like this or online content on YouTube like this in the future. So you guys will see what that's like as well. So with that being said, would you guys give us a thumbs up in the comments box? Was this good? You guys like this, or should we go back to the old way? I think I know what the answer to that is, but I want to just make sure I hear it right. And for some of you guys that are listening to this on Apple, iTunes, or Spotify, whatever it may be, you guys are going to make sure you guys want to go take a look at this on the YouTube page or Facebook, wherever you guys watch this stuff at. So that way you guys can actually see the visual and audio of the videos that we're playing. So
this is really putting me in check as far as like checking my randomness, because I'll be doing some random stuff during the podcast sometimes.
We both do.
Billy be like, we gotta edit this out now. I don't know.
I know we gotta be spot on every time, guys. So well, we love y'all. We appreciate y'all. And with that, we'll see y'all next week.
Peace. Yes, sir.